Extrinsic element of novel Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Fadhila, Faiza, Amalia. 1. Synopsis of the novel. Alice, a 7-year-old girl from a well-to-do family, is sitting with her sister in a park. Alice then falls asleep, and when she finally wakes up, she finds a hurrying talking white rabbit. She follows the white rabbit figure into a rabbit hole that leads to Wonderland. Once Alice falls down the rabbit hole, she encounters a variety of animals as well as many other strange entities that can speak. The white rabbit is the first character Alice encounters. The white rabbit serves as Alice's companion throughout her adventure through Wonderland. The caterpillar is the following character. The caterpillar is a wise character who offers Alice advice on how to survive in Wonderland. The caterpillar is a grumpy character that is sometimes seen smoking a hookah, instruct Alice how to deal with the harsh condition she encounters in Wonderland. It demonstrates how Alice can modify the size of her body by eating mushrooms, allowing her to adapt to her surroundings. The Searcher Cat is another key character Alice encounters in Wonderland. The Searcher Cat occasionally vanished, leaving only a grin behind. The character known as the Mad Hatter are then introduced to Alice. The Mad Hatter is a strange human figure who is in charge of a never-ending tea ceremony. The Queen of Hearts, a full-tempered and faithless monarch of Wonderland, is the final major character Alice encounters in Wonderland. Alice's sensible demeanor is despised by the Queen, who believes that rationality has no place in Wonderland. Extrinsic element. Autobiography. Carlos Ludwig Dachshund, well known by his pen name Lewis Carroll, was born in the village of Daresbury, England on January 27, 1832. Carroll was the oldest of 11 children in his family. Carroll was known in his family for his ability to keep himself and his siblings entertained. He received a Christ College scholarship when he was 20 years old. Aside from being a math lecturer, Carroll was a photographer who also published essays, political pamphlets, and poetry. His proficiency in the genre of literary nonsense is demonstrated in The Hunting of the Snark. Carroll had long been seen to have a strange affinity with children, particularly with one Alice Liddell, daughter of Henry George Liddell, who would later become the main inspiration for Carroll's classic Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Carroll spent a lot of time with Alice, telling her story about Wonderland. Carroll took Alice and her sister to an afternoon picnic, and it was then that Carroll delivered the first narrative that would later become Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. Historical and political satire in Alice in Wonderland. 1. Imperialism. Alice's Adventure in Wonderland was written during the British Empire's expansion and the discovery of new territories and societies. In Wonderland, she exhibits imperialistic behavior as an English girl from an impoverished country. She rejects local convention and acts as though she has the right to impose her own. Her attitude reflects the ethocentrism enforced by the British on their colonies, as if it were the English version of croquet. Alice tries to observe Wonderland croquet game. Hedgehog and flamingos are the only elements that resemble English croquet. The players don't take turns. Instead, they all play at the same time. Because of this, Alice thinks it's a strange croquet game. As a result, she sees it as an impossibly difficult imitation of the English game. The value in Alice Wonderland and croquet in England are very different. Instead of thinking that Wonderland might have its own type of game based on its own ideals, Alice imposes her own version on the game. This transient status quo also exists during the Tea Party, where Alice, although not having been invited, becomes an intruder. 2. Justice and authority. Low tolerance for crime characterized Victorian morality. Crime was severely punished and punishments were sometimes disproportionate and administered to the wrong person. In the novel, Carroll satirized the judicial system as a guide dedicated to equality. He used his mathematical skills to improve political procedures fairness, and he published pamphlets and letters on the subject. In Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, authority people are presented as inconsistent and untrustworthy. The tale concludes with Alice defying the Queen, who sentences her to death once more. Carroll satirized the frightening British judicial system as well as justice in general through the authoritative figure of the King and Queen of Hearts and their disproportionate abuse of power. Alice in Wonderland as social and cultural satire. 1. Education and regimentation. Lewis Carroll marks the Victorian educational approach of memorizing poetry by heart in Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. Nursery rhymes, lullabies, and ballads were popular in Victorian England as a way to teach youngsters about moral standards and how to prevent mischief. The impact of didactic poems on youngsters was so great that Alice associates her identity with her recitation of "How about the Little Crocodile? You Are Out for the William," a parody of Robert Southey, and "The Old Man Comfort" is recited by Alice. Carroll replaced the bee with a crocodile and essential phrase like busy, labor, skillfully, improve, and so on with terms like grin, joyfully, or smiling, which have very different meanings. When Alice encounters the caterpillar, she puts her identity to the test once more by reciting a didactic poem that Victorian children were obliged to memorize. This, "The Voice of the Lobster," does not contradict the original poem moral, but it does entirely alter its meaning. 2. Victorian values, moral, and etiquette. Alice is a typical Victorian upper-class girl who is aware of her wrongdoings and understands when she should be reprimanded. She had grown accustomed to being criticized to the point of scolding and boxing her own ears. Regardless of how rude the Wonderland creatures are to Alice or how absurd the scenarios she encounters are, she attempts to maintain a pleasant demeanor. Despite the fact that they are not human, these animals appear to speak and act like modern humans. They They speak in refined tone as if they were members of Victorian society's upper class. All of these creators are injured by Alice's comment about her cat Tina's propensity of eating bird, but they all come up with different excuses to live. Carroll satirized a society obsessed with etiquette. He indicates that social convention at their extreme simply serve to create a hostile and rigid environment in which people only display their superficial selves. Alice in Wonderland doesn't understand the meaning of words like longitude or longitude, but she takes advantage of the situation to brag about her knowledge. Carroll appears to criticize both the educational method and morals of a system that prioritized appearances over genuine knowledge or understanding. Conclusion. Lewis Carroll, portrait of Victorian Britain, is embodied in all Alice's adventure in Wonderland. Through the means of comedy, the author criticized diverse aspects of Victorian society, politics, and education. The satire on the political issues of the time focused on two major areas: imperialism and the British judicial system. Education is also satirized in how Alice is never able to repeat the poems correctly in her journey into Wonderland. In Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll ridicules the excesses of Victorian Britain and the sacredness of hierarchy and authority. He shows a society that intends to be perfect, but can in fact be as incoherent, absurd, and unpredictable as a child's imagination. Carroll portrays an adult world in which childhood has no place, and the strictness and absurdity of its laws make it difficult to be a child. Thank you.